Today we are watching the response video from the kid who absolutely embarrassed himself at UNCG during the Ben Shapiro event. And this video is exactly what you expect. It's insane. Let's get into it.
Hey, my name is Quentin Merritt, and I just roasted Ben Shapiro.
Right off the bat. Come on, you did not roast Ben Shapiro.
But before I get into the reasoning behind my actions, I'm going to give you some background about my experience at the event.
I don't think any reason would be good enough, but let's see.
We strolled through campus to get to the gym, waited patiently in line, shuffled through security, all to get to the biggest and most controversial event of our time in college.
Very controversial.
Ben Shapiro at UNCG.
There you go.
And as we walk down the stairs and try to squeeze into our seats and settle in for the event, we hear someone yell, "I fucking hate minorities." Just like that.
Someone could have said that, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems very far fetched. But let's see what else you got to say.
My friend and I immediately looked at one another with shock. Him wide-eyed, looking at my black skin, and me uncomfortably staring at his brown skin against the sea of white faces that surrounded us. That was to be expected, given Ben Shapiro's demographic. But what I did not expect was the lack of response to the hateful statement that resounded in my ears. No one batted an eye or turned their head except for us.
Okay, so we're about a quarter of the way through, and there's no reasoning for why he did what he did. But let's see.
The lack of care by the people who surrounded me, most of whom share the same views as Ben Shapiro, stirred a fire within me. And that's when I made my decision.
Stirred a fire.
I posted to my Snapchat story, and I said that I was going to heckle him. And when they asked audience members to go down for questions, I went down there with that in mind.
This guy had a complete meltdown to Ben Shapiro. He did not heckle him. But let's see.
On my way up there, I asked myself, well, what does Ben Shapiro do? He uses his influence as a political commentator and touts his credentials from his Harvard law degree to give himself the credibility to speak on issues that he's not qualified to speak about. So I did the exact same thing. And for those of you on the internet saying that there's no way that I possibly won this prestigious award, I'm sorry to tell you that you're wrong. It's true. I was awarded the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship, and I'm a double major in mathematics and physics. This is what black excellence looks like.
Yeah, he's putting on for everybody. He's making everyone look really good. Yeah.
Sadly, I do have to agree with one point that Ben made about me. He's right. I'm not a biologist. And that's the point. Neither is he. So in reality, the people in that audience should be listening to neither of us, regardless of our personal accolades or achievements, and should actually listen to the biologists and psychologists doing the real research in these areas.
It's not that complicated. You don't have to be doing research in an area to know stuff about this. It's not that complicated at all.
And the research comes to an undeniable consensus that being transgender is not a pathology, it is not a disease, it is literally just a different way of being a human being. So, again, I'm going to be very clear. I'm not sorry about what I said to Ben Shapiro. However, I do want to apologize for the sexist language that I used.
I don't think you should be sorry. You should be embarrassed. But sorry, I'm stopping.
Back in 2020, Ben Shapiro spoke on his podcast about the song WAP by Cardi B, where he was rightfully mocked by the internet for awkwardly rapping her verses. Then he took to Twitter and said, also, as I discussed in the show, my only real concern is that the women involved, who apparently require a bucket and a mop, get the medical care that they require. My Dr. Wife's differential diagnosis, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infection, or trichomoniasis. And what that basically means is that he's equivocating the physical attributes of female sexual arousal with disease. Again, Twitter rightfully dragged him for this, for being so painfully unaware of the biology of cisgender women. This then begs the question, are we really going to trust someone like that to even attempt to try to tell us about the biology of transness? When I got up there, I brought up the content of that tweet because I knew it would hit him where it hurt and cause his past experience on Twitter to resurface.
Absolutely did not hit him where it hurt at all. He just made himself look stupid.
Why, you ask? Well, I again must be clear. Ben Shapiro and I don't have a difference of opinion. The hateful and transphobic rhetoric that Ben Shapiro spews has the ability to do real and tangible harm to people in the transgender community, because he has the platform to reach the people who write the policies and laws that might end up restricting the rights of trans people. As a black person and a queer person, I had to call on the experience of the people who questioned injustice and fought for change before me. The majority black and brown queer people at Stonewall didn't lay down and just take the abuse of their oppressors. Neither did the organizers and allies at the March on Washington. Marginalized people should not be expected to be docile or respectful to the individuals aiming to reverse the progress we have fought so hard to gain. Rather, we must be bold and speak out and find ways to dismantle oppression by any means necessary. And if engaging with Ben Shapiro is the avenue that I had to take to fight injustice and spread this message, then it was well worth it. Black power, brown power, queer power, trans power. Remember, there is no liberation for any of us marginalized people if there's only liberation for one of us. We must work together if we're going to achieve an equitable society for all of us. Thank you so much for your time.
There's absolutely no way this is not satire. This is ridiculous. He made a fool of himself and is so delusional that he thinks that he could say anything to make himself look good. No, that was insane. Have a good night. Appreciate you watching it with me.